Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone. Greetings wherever you are in the world. We're thrilled to have you here at USA Global TV and Radio. I'm Dr. JACALYN KERBECK, and as you know, it's the first Monday of the month, which I love because we have this fabulous show. My dear friend who's here joining me momentarily. It's entrepreneur and so much more. The star of our show, Justin MIRIGLIANI, is an amazing person. We met through the Crohn's Colitis Foundation. Of course, if you've watched our show before, you know that. And Justin is a business owner, and he takes his time to come here and share what he's learned, his expertise in so many different areas. Let's have a conversation. Let's welcome him to the show. Hi, Justin.
Hi, Dr. JACALYN. How are you?
Hi, I'm happy to see you, my friend. I wish it was more than once a month, but with schedules being so busy, thanks for taking the time to be here.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Yeah.
You know, Justin, you have accomplished so much in your life in so many areas. What people might not know about you is that you give so much of yourself. You have your own charity, which how many people have their own charity? It's amazing. And you also have your own company where you're helping people, you're helping businesses grow and prosper. Tell us a little bit more about these two areas, and then we'll discuss some others.
Yeah, sounds good. So the one company that I have that I've been running since 2002 is Just For You Training and Consulting. And in that business, what I do is I teach people, I do corporate training, essentially. I teach people how to use computer programs like Microsoft Word or Excel or PowerPoint, or Teams has been a big one over the years. And that's one of the things I do. I also train people in soft skills, which are things like conflict management, time management, leadership, and really important skills that you need to have if you want to be a good leader, if you want to be a good mentor, supervisor, whatever it is, whatever leadership role you have. And that really is most of what I do on the business side. The charity that Dr. JACALYN was alluding to is Checkmates Charitable Association. And that's where I try to arrange events to raise money and awareness for Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, which they're called inflammatory bowel disease, and also those with an ostomy. I'm an ostomy patient. 2015, I had surgery to have my large intestine removed, and now I have a permanent ileostomy. So that's really where this all came from, is to try to raise money and awareness for people in really a very underserved community.
Thanks so much for your transparency and your honesty always. I really appreciate that about you. Justin, our title today is Running Your Business While Fighting Health Issues. And you and I both have health issues, and people would look at us and say, hey, they look pretty healthy to me, but people never know what's going on. You had a great example before we came on the show about a health-related issue and what an employer or employees or colleagues or even clients might say. Tell us a little bit about that analogy.
Yeah, so I've mentioned this before on the show that I suffer from obsessive compulsive disorder and anxiety disorder and depression, which kind of all go together. It's not really, it's three separate categories, but really they're kind of lumped into mental health. And it's been particularly bad over the last year, but most especially over the last 2 months, where it's really becoming very hard to get through every day with. And I'm not sure how easy it is for people to understand that when they see somebody who's struggling with mental illness, um, they think, well, just change your mindset, just think of something else or do something else, take your mind off of it. And I wish it was that easy. I wish people could understand how difficult that can really be. It's very, very hard. Um, it- if when I had my large intestine removed, people understood that much more easily. They were like, well, of course he's going to be out of work for 3 months because he's having his large intestine removed. I mean, that's a pretty major thing. So that's a physical illness that we can, at least it seems tangible to us, because it's like, wow, it's a part of his body that's being taken out, an organ, and it's going to take time to recover. But if I took time away from my business to address the mental health issues that I'm struggling with, I'm not sure how receptive clients would be to that. And I'm not sure how many managers in the workforce see mental illness as a real illness. I think it's, you know, uh, we use the word depression really as anytime somebody is sad. I'm depressed over this, or that person's depressed over that. It's really not depression, it's sadness. Depression is different. It's a disease, it's an illness. And even myself, sometimes I think, you should be able to fight through it. And I guess that, it's hard for any of us, including people who have these problems, to recognize them for what they are. And it's an illness, and it's an illness that can be debilitating. And I'm doing my best not to allow that to happen, but it is difficult.
You know, what you're saying, for people who haven't thought about mental health wellness, there is a lot of focus on it now as a result of the pandemic. And one would like to think that business leaders, business owners are changing their thought process, and human resource departments are looking at things differently, but I don't know that that's actually the case. So when you have your own business, you obviously know, we're both business owners, there's the day-to-day pressure, there's the strategic long-term plan about where it is you want to go, and sometimes there's the fact that you have to deliver certain services or products, and that's the case for both of us. So could you go and hire other people? Absolutely. You have other people can do training, but people want to see you. So when you're not feeling well, how do you make that distinction between, okay, I've got to put myself and my mental health first before this business? The business will still be here, or I'll have to figure something else out. How do you make that decision?
That's one that I'm wrestling with right now, is trying to decide whether it's time to step back and get the help that I need to overcome the depression, the anxiety, the OCD, versus the fear of, if you don't show up, will people find somebody else to take your place? It's very, very difficult. And I think the answer is not a simple one. I think it comes down to how debilitating is it becoming. I mean, can you still function as a human being while these illnesses are going on? And so far, I've been able to do that. But as I mentioned to you before the show, Dr. Jacqueline, one of the things I'm thinking about is having therapy instead of once a month, having it once a week at least, to see if that'll help. And also, what people don't understand about mental illness is that it's a lot of trial and error. I've been on, I don't know how many medications, probably into the teens. And when I say teens, I'm not exaggerating. Things like Zoloft, Remeron, Trintellix, uh, um, some of the other ones, Seroquel, Klonopin. Some of them I still take. Two different types of Wellbutrin. So there are all these different medications, and sometimes they work. Vraylar was one that I was on recently that I had to come off of. Um, there's really, it is, when they say practicing medicine, it's really practicing. They're trying to figure out, what combination of medications will work for each individual person, and it's different. For instance, on one of the medications, I was having a lot of anxiety, dizziness. um, when I stood up, I felt like I was going to pass out and things like that, and that was one of the side effects of the medication. So that one obviously is not for me. So do you try something else? Of course, you try to whatever you can. And then there's also the dosage. How much do you take? I'm a pretty big guy, and I usually need at the higher end of the dosage level. And right now, I'm on a low end of a new medication that we're trying, Risperdal. So, you know, I think going back to your original question of how you decide when it's time to say I need to step away, I'm not sure how easy that is, and especially with mental illness. I honestly think that it was a lot easier for anybody that I trained for to understand. Oh, he's going to be out because he has major surgery, and we'll wait, until he comes back. Versus, oh, he's out with depression and anxiety. You know, maybe we'll find somebody else, and that's, I think, adds to the fear and the pressure too.
It's like that hamster wheel that goes round and round.
Right.
And Justin, if you don't want to, you don't have to, but I'm wondering for people who are out there trying to understand, what is it that you experience in the course of a day? Are you able to qualify that for us?
It's just constant feeling inadequate, constant feeling like you don't measure up, that you can't be, a good husband, you can't be a good father, you can't be.
Let's take a pause for a moment. I'm sorry. You know what? This is real. It's authentic. This is real TV. These are things that you're going through, and I don't have the answer. I just know I really appreciate you for being so honest. And there has to be some solution. That's what I always say. What is the solution when it comes to health? Unfortunately, it seems like it is a lot of trial and error, and going through that has to be exhausting. All those things that you just said that you tried.
Yeah, and it really is. That's a good word for it, exhausting, because you spend a lot of your time just trying to fight to be able to just function as a normal human being, and then you don't have a lot of energy for anything else. And it's hard. Then there's the guilt that you feel, because mental illness does does make you selfish in a lot of ways, because it's so hard to focus on other people when you can't stop focusing on yourself. And I think that you have to somehow, yeah, I think that my so my father's gone through a lot in the last couple of weeks. He had surgery, um, 2 weeks ago. Well, not even a week and a half ago, major back surgery. And I wanted to be strong for him, and it's been very difficult because I haven't been strong at all, for myself. And there's always going to be me looking back and saying, "Boy, really wish I could have been more of a rock for my mom, or more of a rock for my father." So there's going to be that guilt, and that's part of it. I think that it's difficult to um, to help other people when you're drowning, when you feel like you're going underwater, and they need help. And even though I don't blame myself for having these problems. I think I was born this way, to be honest with you. I've struggled with all three of these. I guess we'll just call them mental illness: OCD, anxiety, and depression. Really, since birth, I was in therapy uh, 3 days a week at 8 years old because of the problems I was having with it. So, when people tell me that, there is no chemical imbalance, or you're not, that this is something that happened, some trauma that happened to you when you were little, I don't believe any of that. I really do believe the doctors when they say it's not your fault. It's just that there's a chemical imbalance in the brain, and it just happens. And um, it's a medical issue that needs to be taken care of. So
So, Justin, when I share with you what I've been told a zillion times, is that before we can be anything to anyone, we have to
mm,
take care of ourselves. So, is there some way for you to embrace that instead of feeling the guilt that I'm not helping him, her, them, when at the same time they need help, you also need help, and maybe they're not able to help you because they're going through something?
yeah, I mean, part of me is wondering if my mother, if she had some of the pressure taken off of her because she had to worry about me a little bit, so it diverted maybe some of her worry about my father. So in some ways, it might have helped her because she had something else to think about other than my dad's surgery. So yeah, I mean, you're right. You can't really help other people until you help yourself. It just now that it's a year that it's really been bad, and it's been degrees, right? It hasn't been horrible the whole time, but it's been from terrible to not so great, and now it's back up to terrible again. A year's a long time to be struggling with that. It's really, really difficult, and it's like, yeah, I want to help myself, but I sometimes wonder how long it's going to take. Is it going to be another year of this? How long is it going to take? It's very, very difficult. And I want to be what my parents were for me. They were always strong and helped me through tough times and any problems that I had. Even when I had my surgery, they were always there. And I just the fear, I guess, that you have that you're not going to be able to be that for your own kids and for your own wife, and that certainly is something that weighs on my mind. But as you said, I have to at some point embrace, as you say, the idea that I need to get myself right before I could be something for other people.
Absolutely. I really believe that you owe that to yourself because, and this is an example people always use, if you're in the airplane and the mask drop down, you put it on yourself before you put it on someone else. And I think that it's okay to say, listen, I don't feel okay and I need to focus on getting better so I can be all that I can be for you, and you. I think people respect that. I know myself from being in a role of taking care of someone that if I'm not right with myself, I'm just nasty. I'm not good. I just
Yeah.
get really moody, and so you have to take a step back. So I don't know. I just would ask you to give yourself permission to do that.
No, you're right. It's something I have to do, and my family's been telling me to do that a lot. But relating it back to business, then you worry about, will you lose the business? Will business dry up? And people say, well, then you got to worry about the stigma. Like people might say, well, he's got mental issues, so he's a loose cannon. Can you really trust him? And I don't think it's fair. Not only because I'm one of those who suffer with it, we have millions and millions and millions of people who are struggling with all different kinds of mental disorders. Some of them range from seriously dangerous disorders to benign disorders that are just affecting the one person. But um, I think that mental illness sometimes gets lumped all together. It doesn't mean that somebody who has depression, anxiety, OCD is the next Jeffrey Dahmer or the next school shooter. Um, there's a difference. There are different types of illnesses, but I think what happens is people hear mental illness and they lump it all together, and the word crazy, right? I don't know how many people use it today as much as they did in the past, but we're much more politically correct today. But we're I think we're politically correct superficially, where people show sympathy, but then when they're deep down, they still feel like, oh, come on, get over it, pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. I'm not sure that the compassion that's shown tangibly is always what people really, really feel. So there's the concern about that.
And I thank you for sharing that concern. I know here on this platform, we have your story, your grief, your journey. We have the art of creating mental health wealth. And we have people that are coming on from all parts of the world sharing about their mental health journey and how they've channeled it in many cases through the creative arts, whether it's through writing or painting or drawing or some way. And so where they were in their lowest darkest place, they found some way to express it through creativity. What comes up for you when I share that? Does that seem of interest to you?
Yeah, it does. It's something that I've thought about. I'm I one of the things that um, depression robs you of is your drive. So for me, it was going to the gym every day, and right now, I haven't really been able to, or even felt the urge to walk into the gym at all. And it's something that I've been doing since I was seriously been lifting weights since I was 16 years old. It's when I really got into it and carried through all the way through. And I'm 48 now, so right through my 40s. And um, yeah, I think I, I think that I'm going to have to at some point push myself to go back and do that, and that maybe be my release. Yeah, I thought about learning an instrument, maybe that maybe that'll be something that could help me, get through this. But um, it's great that you have all these people who come on, and when I say that there's a lack of compassion, I don't mean here. I don't mean on USA Global TV and radio, because I think here you have people who really truly do understand the depths of how people struggle with all kinds of mental illness. Um, so this is an oasis, really, of a great place where you can listen to people who really understand. I think as a whole, that's where the problem is. I think that um, we some people still have the mentality of, as I said before, you just got to shake it off and pick yourself up by your bootstraps and just get it done, and everything will fall into place. Well, it doesn't really work that way if there's illness involved.
It's very true. Very true. And just to share a little bit, because you talked about the physical illness, and I know for me with my ulcerative colitis, it's in remission right now. But
Great.
I'm telling you, thank you. Every day I think to myself, is today the day that it's coming back? And I couldn't go
Sure.
work in an office again. There's no way. I love knowing that if I need to run, it's right down the steps. So these things do play on us over and over again. And so when you think about your business, is there some plan that you could put into place if you were to take some time off so that your business could still operate?
Yeah, it's something that I'm looking into now. There are two things that play there. One is, will clients accept the fact that I'm going to step away for a while? That's number one. And when I come back, will they come back? Number two is, when you work for yourself and there's no paycheck when you don't work, how do you pay the bills? How do you keep a roof over your head and keep dinner on the table and keep paying the bills? And that's another thing that's really difficult to when you say, well, I'll just step away for a little while. Well, if you step away for a month or two, that's a month or two that you go without a second paycheck. And I have my wife is working and she's gainfully employed, and that's great. But um, like most middle class Americans, we can't really go with one income to really maintain everything that we have going with the two kids. And one of my oldest daughter is 16 and she's getting ready to start looking colleges, and my other daughter is 11 and she's in middle school, and we have softball to pay for and swimming to pay for, and all kinds of other things, all kinds of expenses, not to mention the fact, as I said before, mortgage and car payments and all that. So um, that's one of the hardest things about being self-employed, is that there is that extra burden of, if I don't get this done, who will? So when you ask, is there a plan? I got to be honest with you, I have one right now. I don't really know what the steps would be. I think what I'd like to do is try to get as much therapy as I possibly can while maintaining some semblance of a work life as well.
And I can appreciate that. Excuse me. I'm wondering, what about looking into therapy during the weekend or at the night time, which I know is really your family time, but maybe this way you could still keep running the business? Or is there some way you could automate the courses that you teach to make them available on demand while you're out if you decide to?
Well, one good thing is the therapist that I've been with since 1997, Dr. Andrew Borson, who's just a phenomenal psychologist. He does have evening hours on Thursday nights. So right now, what I'm doing is scheduling a Thursday night with him um, every week, and we're going to try to see if that is what helps. So what we work on is CBT, um, cognitive behavioral therapy and try to see if that will work. And it does help, but it doesn't help enough without the medication. And I think that what I'm struggling with most right now is just not being medicated fully. I'm on some medication, but we're still trying to bring it up little by little, and it's been kind of difficult. Um, but you're right. I don't know about weekends. That's a great point. I don't know if there are doctors who do this kind of therapy on weekends. There are places that do daily therapy for a couple of weeks, but then again, I would have to take off work. There's about 3-hour sessions, 5 days a week, and that's a lot. I mean, that's. I don't want to have to go that route. If I do, I do, but it's something that I would prefer not to have to do. Uh, but when you talk about um, finding time, it is hard because most doctors work normal business hours, and so does my training, normal business hours. And the other thing that I worry about too is, how good of a trainer am I right now? I mean, I'm obviously I'm going to give 100%, but the 100% that I'm giving right now is not equal to the 100% that I give when I'm fully feeling, perfectly well. So, I feel for my clients because they're getting the best of me, but that best of me right now is not, to the level that I would like it to be.
Again, I really appreciate everything that you're sharing today. I have to say that your ability right here, right now is spot on. It's a 10, it's an A. How would you rate yourself?
I'm not sure. Everything feels so so heavy. There's a feeling of just not measuring up when you get into these funks. It's like you just can't. No matter what you do, it's not good enough. It's not going to be sufficient enough. So I think what people see and what I see might be two different things. You talk about somebody who's got an eating disorder. They would look in the mirror and they see, my God, look how heavy I am, look how big I am, and yet they're real thin, and everybody's telling them you got to eat. You're losing too much weight. You're not looking well, and they say, no, what are you talking about? I looked in the mirror and I'm huge. I need to lose 10 more pounds, and I think that happens with depression as well. There's uh, people see you and think, oh, you're doing well, you're doing fine, but internally you think, no, it's not. I'm not. It's really not. I'm not doing that well. I'm not on top of my game.
I totally agree with what you're saying. We had somebody here who is getting cancer treatments, and people say things to her that are just you you wouldn't believe some of the things that people have said to her. But the point being is that people are always judging, and also if they're
Mm.
not judging, they don't know what to say. So they just say something, they say anything instead of just listening. Because our goal, I think, as a human, we feel like we want to fix everyone. How can I fix you? What can I do? And at the same time, we just need someone to listen. We need a solution. And maybe if it's a medical professional, they're the ones that have a solution as opposed to a layperson.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I can't fix me, and I know that. There's nothing that I can do. I'm not a medical professional. I'm not a psychiatrist, psychologist. I don't have the ability to do that. Just like when I had ulcerative colitis and needed to have my colon removed, I couldn't fix that. There was nothing in my power for me to say, all right, well, I'll just do this, 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 and this, and then I'll no longer need surgery. Everything will be fine. The ulcerative colitis will go away. It's impossible. And it's the same thing here. I'm hoping more and more people will see this as what it is, an illness, as opposed to just feeling sorry for yourself. There's so much of a difference. I think my history proves that. To be in therapy 3 days a week at 8 years old, there was something that I was born with that caused this, and it's something that is part of my makeup. And it just can't be fixed with a snap of the fingers and me wishing it away. I don't know how well anybody can understand depression and anxiety unless they've had depression and anxiety. Just like, you know, people might think when I had ulcerative colitis, well, just hold it. If you have to go to the bathroom, everybody holds it. It's not like you're going to have an accident or whatever. And the long and the short of it is, yeah, you do have accidents because it's a disease where you can't control your bowels all the time. So somebody might look at me and say, well, how in the world could you not be able to hold it? You've been holding it since you were out of diapers. Well, there's something there that's causing me not to be able to hold it. So when I was having accidents with ulcerative colitis, I'm sure there were people who couldn't understand that because they had never gone through that. They had never been through that type of illness. And the same thing with depression. Um, I think when people feel sad for a couple of days and then they snap out of it, they think, oh, I was depressed and I was able to get myself over it. No, they were sad. They had something sad happen, and then they were able to get through the sadness because they're not depressed. They don't have depression. They just had a feeling as opposed to a disease.
Excellent points as always. And I think we can have a physical disease where it's affecting a part of our body that people can understand somewhat. And at the same time, they don't understand the behavior. So when you talk about losing control of your bowels, right, that's something that I have to worry about all the time. People, they don't understand that. They don't. I was just telling someone that I have ulcers all through my whole colon, and I saw their facial expressions like, oh, we want to get away from her. Maybe it's contagious. Like you could just
Yeah.
see people's reaction. So when it comes to mental health, it's the same thing also because people just, they put us into categories or they put us into boxes and say, okay, that person has something I don't understand. And usually to me, it's ignorance. It's a lack of understanding because any of these things can happen to any of us.
And I think the ignorance and the lack of understanding comes from the fact that it's been such a hush hush thing. I
Agree.
remember when I was a kid, my grandparents were always telling me, be very quiet about what you're going through. You don't want to let anybody know that you're seeing a psychiatrist because once they know that, you're labeled, as somebody who's mentally ill and you never get out from under it. And I think that that's been the problem with mental illness, and it continues to now, is the fact that so many people are scared to death to mention it because they think, oh, well, what will other people think of me? Will they still love me, or will they still hire me, or will they still let me work for them? And since I've come forward with, and I've been very open about it for years. I mean, this is not something new. I've been talking about this for a long, long time, especially on social media. But a lot of people will send me messages and say, "Thank you for mentioning this. Thank you for bringing it up. But please, whatever you do, please don't tell anybody that I suffer from this too." So I have plenty of people, and I would never ever betray their confidence. But so many people, not hundreds, but 10, 12 people over the years who've friends and family who said, thanks for mentioning this. I have it too, but please don't let anybody know. So, and on the one hand, they're saying it's okay that you're saying this, and it's good, and on the other hand, they're saying, but don't let anybody know I have it. So, there's still the stigma.
Yes, there is a stigma. And at the same time, when you do tell people what's going on, at least for me, I found it to be liberating. But my father always told me when it came to dating, don't ever tell anyone you've ulcerative colitis. You don't need to tell everybody everything first when you meet them. And I always thought, no, I'm going to tell them right away. I'm going to see who's going to stay around and who's not, because if you're not here for the long haul, then what's the point? But
Right.
for our own selves, for anyone out there who has mental health issues or they don't feel like they have their mental health wealth as much as they'd like to, by expressing that to people who give you an audience who make you feel that you are heard and safe, I would think that that has to be liberating as opposed to keeping it in silence and living in fear that someone's going to find out.
Yeah, you're right. It is. And it feels good to have support, especially with social media now. People can be supportive and let you know that. It's just a shame that as they're saying it's okay to have these problems, they're also saying whatever you do, don't let anybody know that I also have these problems. And that's so on the one hand we're saying it's okay, and on the other hand people are saying but it's not okay for me. It's only okay for other people.
Right. Well, that's why there are people like you and like me who are in the public domain talking about it, because we're here to inspire other people and realize that you're not alone and it's okay to share how you feel. Maybe everybody is not going to be receptive, but everyone's not going to be receptive to everything anyway. So it's
Right.
about finding people who do honor you and do respect you for sharing what it is you're going through.
Yeah, and I think there are a lot of people who as time goes on, as people become more aware of these issues, I think there'll be more compassion for it. I think that people will start to say, this is a lot more prevalent than what we originally thought.
Yes, very true. We are coming to the end of the show, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about what it might feel like for you to get back to the gym, because that is a big part of who you are.
Yeah, it's just right now the thought of even doing it just seems so. It feels like a mountain. It feels like that. To push myself to go through it just seems so difficult, and it probably will be helpful once I do go back. And I'm going to try to do it this week if I can muster up the energy to do it. But when you're constantly in upheaval, the amount of energy that you have is so low. I mean, I'm constantly exhausted. I could fall asleep, any minute. It's just you're always working. You're working and just trying to be human. And you know, for those who are serious into going to the gym, you know that there's a tremendous amount of expenditure of energy there. And as much as it's physical, there's also a mental aspect to it. Um, you have to feel strong to be strong. I think if you feel weak and inadequate, even when you're lifting weights that you should be able to handle pretty easily, it's not so easy. They feel a lot heavier. So um, there's the hurdle of I want to be back to where I should be, um, and knowing that I might not be there.
I can appreciate that. And just a disclaimer, because I thank God I don't have depression or anxiety. I do know that many times at the end of the day, I am not in a great frame of mind to go work out. And I drag myself there. I walk there. And as I'm walking, I'm thinking, oh, I don't know, I'm going to do this. I don't feel like doing this. And I get
Sure.
into the gym and I'm like a completely different person. I'm like, I'm so glad I did this. I have all this energy now that I never had before. But from getting from A to B, not so easy.
That's the hard part. Yeah, I think that's the hard part.
Yeah. So, are you going to put a mental plan in place to go to the gym tomorrow or Wednesday or any other day?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to do it this week. I'm gonna put, like you said, a plan together. I mean, and I have to give myself the leeway to whatever I do, I do. So if I get in there and I'm not so strong and I'm just kind of going through the motions, maybe that's what I need
Exactly.
to
Just
move
get
forward.
back in there. And
Yeah,
whatever you do, it doesn't matter, but you took the step to get in there. So,
yeah,
that's important.
absolutely.
Justin, thank you so much for being so honest and for being so brave and so courageous. And thanks for being my friend. That's the most important thing. And
I
being
feel the
here
same.
today, knowing that you're not feeling your greatest, but sharing and helping others.
Thanks, Dr. Jacqueline. I appreciate it.
We have your contact information here for people who are going through something similar. Are you open to people contacting you?
Oh, please, if anybody ever needs to reach out and wants somebody to listen who understands what they're going through, you can reach out to me at my cell number is 610-324-5545. My email address is justin at justforyoutc, all spelled out, JUSTFORYOUTC.com. or my charity is Justin at checkmatescharity.com. And yeah, I mean, I love it when people reach out. I've had people reach out to me who've had ulcerative colitis and who have an ostomy, and it's really nice to be able to help them along their way when they're just starting out, like I was in 2015. So same thing with anybody who's suffering with mental health issues. I'm happy to listen if I can.
Definitely appreciate that, Justin. And I just want to make a quick announcement because it's really in alignment with this. I am working with Dr. Sadia Rajput. She is out of Pakistan, medical doctor, finishing her PhD. She's a teacher, and she's also the owner of the British School of Excellence in Pakistan. And she's put together a course on brain health and brain wellness and how traumatic things that happen to us trigger something in our brain. And even when we process it and we deal with it, it still has an impact on the decisions that we make, and we're not aware of how this actually plays a huge role. So we're going to be offering this course together, and I'm really excited about it. People will have an opportunity to meet her on It's Your Healthy Lifestyle with Roland Friedel. We'll be doing it sometime, I think the 19th. So look forward to that. There are answers that she's going to be providing. There's tips and takeaways, nutrition, exercise, all of it, in addition to her information, her expertise that she's put together from years of practicing. So look forward to that.
Yeah, sounds great.
All right. Thanks, Justin. Thanks, everyone. We'll look forward to seeing you at our next show, which is A Woman's Prerogative, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Time or midnight British Summer Time. We'll see you soon. Bye, Justin.
Everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, Dr. Jacqueline.